Hello everybody, welcome to Monarch Intuition, and today I'm going to be doing a part 2 to that occult reading that I did a couple of days ago. I feel like a couple of people may have taken offense, they misconstrued my words, maybe it wasn't as clear as it should have been. So what I'm here to do is I'm here to bridge the gap, okay? So what we need to talk about is we need to talk about religion, spirituality, and cults, okay? So we're going to start out with Christianity, and this is not in any way to bash Christianity, it's just that a majority of people were born into the Christian faith, and so they were raised in Christianity throughout their lives. Now, in Christianity, there are going to be multiple different organizations, okay? So let's think of the Catholic Church being the main one. And then from the Catholic Church, you have a bunch of different sects of Christianity. You're going to have like Episcopalian, Mormonism, Jehovah's Witness, Missionary Baptist, whatever, right? Now, it's important to understand that each one of these different sects has their own like hierophant organization. But each one of these different sects kind of in a way falls under the Catholic Church, all right? So for example, the Catholic Church has priests, it has bishops, it has all these other different ranking systems. Then you have the Pope that sits at the top, who sits at the top. Same thing with any other type of sect within Christianity. It's important to understand that most of these pastors are very educated people. A lot of people will say, oh, they're not. They act this way. They say this thing. Okay, well, here's the thing. They usually have a degree to back that up, all right? In Christianity, it does require you, in order to become an ordained minister or an ordained pastor, whatever, to generally have a college degree of some sort. Usually it's a bachelor's degree in theology. In order to become, I believe, a priest in the Catholic Church, you have to have a master's in theology. It does require a lot of work. Now, within each of these organizations, you can cross-branch. For example, if you are a missionary Baptist or a Baptist person in general, one pastor can move from one Baptist church to another Baptist church as long as it's within this sect, okay? So in order to take control of a much larger church, they're going to have more education behind them. And it goes all the way up to having doctorates in theology. It goes all the way up to understanding exorcisms and whatnot. There's a whole lot of training that goes on behind this stuff. Now, as people get older, especially if they're part of, say, the LGBT community, or they suffered some sort of abuse within the church or whatever, they're going to want to shift from one religion to a different religion, something that is more peaceful, something that coincides with them a little bit more, right? But you have to understand that this idea translates over to almost every single belief and religion, okay? Most of the people who are high priests and high priestesses or deacons or ministers or whatever of all these other religions are going to have college degrees in whatever they believe in, okay? So it could be mythology, it could be Norse mythology, it could be Greek mythology, it could be whatever, right? However, they tend to be very educated people within their own religion, within their own belief systems. Now, what we have to understand is that within Christianity itself, there have been sects that have branched off from the main ideas of other sects, and that's where you get cult-like religions, cult-like belief systems. Now, I'm not calling out Jehovah's Witness, I am not calling out Mormons, okay? But you have to understand, they were kind of like cults starting out, okay? Now, when we talk about a cult, what is that? It's generally the belief system that someone says, hey, I don't agree with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what I like from this religion and then start my own. And I'm going to have my own followers. However, that's very dangerous because people will have their own ideas that they want to interject into this society. Remember, a cult is kind of like a mini form of government. In these government systems, there is someone who's going to sit at the top, just like the Pope sits at the top of the Catholic Church, or just like people sit at the top of whatever association or religion that they are in. Then they're going to interject their own ideologies, they're going to create their own boundaries, their own rules, whatever, right? This is where it's important that you understand when you change religions, you have to find people who are actually educated within that specific group, okay? For example, if you want to go from Christianity to Wicca, you need to find someone who's actually educated in Wicca in order to know what they're talking about. Once again, I'm not a Wiccan. I am not associated to any religion, all right? You're going to have to find people who know what they're talking about, who have classical training, who understand the ins and outs of the ideology and the religion itself. What has happened is social media has allowed people to have platforms who are not mentally sound. And these mentally unsound people are claiming to be something that they are not, okay? They're claiming to be high priests, high priestesses, pastors, popes, whatever, to these religions, and they don't have anything to back that up. Now, I'm not saying a degree gives anyone, you know, a certain level of intelligence, but it does show dedication to at least understand something within this society, within this group, within whatever they're trying to learn, right? It shows some sort of practice. Now, a lot of people don't understand that when they're growing up within Christianity, and specifically, how many rules and regulations that there were, especially if you grew up as a child, right? When you first start out as a Christian, they're going to generally want to see how you're going to adapt to the Christian lifestyle, especially when you're a child. Think about when you were younger. You know, you went to Sunday school. They had all these little programs. Then the church says, hey, you're old enough to make the decision. Do you want to accept Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior? A lot of people say yes. What's the next step? The church inducts them. What's the next step? To get baptized, right? And then to continue your training, to continue to go to church, to continue to help the ideology along for the next generation. That's how that works. That translates over to a lot of other religions. Now, the whole baptism, whole commitment of faith, it's different for each one. However, it still applies, right? A lot of people don't realize how much work that they put in when they were younger to be a part of this society. So once again, if you're not putting in any work to join these religions, then you're probably not going to be a part of them, okay? Now, it is okay to have a spiritual path. For example, there are Christians who don't go to church. They say, I don't agree with it, but I'm just going to follow Jesus the way that I want to. I'm going to read the Bible. I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to pray. And that's perfectly fine. They are Christians. However, they are not pastors. They are not priests. They are not anything. Same thing with Wicca. If you want to join Wicca and you say, hey, I don't really want to do all this ritual stuff, but I want to follow the gods, the goddesses, or Satanism, however you want to do it. If you say, I'm going to do these things and that's it, okay, sure. However, if you start going and saying all of a sudden you're a priest or you're a priestess because you've been involved within it for 10 years, but you've never actually been initiated into the line, into the religion, that's wrong. For example, I like to work with plants. I like to work with herbs. I like to do all these kinds of things, right? If someone comes up to me and says, hey, my doctor says I need more selenium in my diet, how can I get more selenium? I can tell them how to do that. In no way, shape, or form does that make me a doctor, okay? In no way, shape, or form can I go and say, hey, I have a medical degree because I have a certification in whatever, and you need to quit going to your doctor because he's telling you what you're doing is wrong. I can't do that. That's illegal, all right? And that kind of translates over to a lot of different religions, a lot of different belief systems. A lot of mentally ill people who want control over you are going to say, oh, you don't have to do that. You don't have to follow that. You don't have to do it that way. You do it my way. Do it my way. My way works to get you involved, especially if you've gone through abuse and you can't recognize abuse from one thing to another thing. That's one of the main issues that happens within Christianity is a lot of people will tend to get abused within churches or religions in general. And then they don't recognize the signs and symptoms of narcissistic abuse. And then they go over to this religion or they follow this person who is batshit insane, who's a fucking lunatic. And the same thing happens. The same thing perpetuates, okay? Now, it's okay to have a spiritual path. It's okay to say, hey, I follow this deity, or I pull from this religion, but I also pull from this religion. I found what makes it work for me. I want to become more enlightened by following this path. Okay, that's fine. But where it becomes a cult is when you start saying that you are something that you're not. Or where it becomes a cult is when you start involving yourself with people who say that they are something and they are not. All right? That's what I'm trying to get across to you within these messages, within these belief systems. Do it properly. If you want to study Wicca on your own for a couple of years before you go to any meeting, that's fine. If you want to consider yourself a Wiccan or a practitioner of Wicca or any religion, okay, that's fine. But that doesn't make you a high priestess. That doesn't even really make you involved in the religion. It's just saying, hey, you followed this path. All right? Now, where it can become a little bit of a slippery slope is when people start putting you up on a pedestal. Okay? When people start saying you are this when you are not. For example, I've had a lot of people tell me prior to this channel that I should join this, I should join that, I'd be very good, I am charismatic, whatever. But here's the thing. Those people were insane. They were cult leaders, and they wanted me to be involved in their cults. They wanted me to be like a face, a spokesperson for their cult. I am not involved in a cult. I'm not involved in anything, all right? And I want people to recognize that, especially if you don't have that ability to discern. If you don't have discernment, if you can't understand for yourself, for example, hold up. Let's look at, say, TikTok, for example. A lot of people on TikTok will say that they're witches, right? They say, oh, I'm doing a burning bowl ritual, I'm doing this ritual, I'm doing whatever. Okay, but do they have any reason to do that? Say they claim to be a Wiccan, but they've never been initiated. Do they really have any reason to do it online for other people to show them? No, they don't, because most of the time what they're doing is wrong. They're not even doing the proper ritual, all right? That's why it's so dangerous to follow what these people are doing on, say, TikTok or Facebook or YouTube, if they don't have the proper necessary degrees and tools to back that up. It's kind of the same thing as, like, say, for example, you can go to the Vatican and you can take a course in demonology for like a month. That doesn't make you an exorcist, and that doesn't put you on the priest level of exorcism. Okay? In fact, I don't even believe you have to be a Catholic to do that. You could just go and take it. That doesn't in any way make you a priest. It doesn't make you anything. It just means that you took a course in demonology. You took a course in the idea and the concepts of what demons are. You took a course in understanding what negative entities are. That doesn't mean you're proficient in that. All right? And if you find someone who says, hey, I took a month-long course at the Vatican, I'm basically a priest, I don't really believe in the Catholic system, I'm doing my own thing, yeah, I'd like you to be involved, there's an issue right there, okay? So once again, it was not to call anyone out. You can call yourself a witch, you can call yourself a practitioner of whatever, you can call yourself a psychic, you can say whatever. But the problem is when people start to say, I am something like a high priest of such and such ideology, that is the problem. Because you cannot take a herbalism course, and call yourself a doctor. Okay? You can't get a book at Barnes & Noble's and read the first 3 pages and say, oh, I know everything about mushrooms. I can go and give someone advice to walk in the forest and pick mushrooms. That's fucking stupid. Don't listen to anyone like that. Okay? Recognize the signs and symptoms of your own abuse that you've been through, especially if you left a religion because of that. And understand that that type of systematic abuse takes place in other things. And it takes place especially within cults when people want to have authority over you, but they are flat out lunatics. For example, the Manson cult or the Eden Parish cult. How do these cults start? Because people are looking for something. They say, I don't like this religion over here, but I like this one. It kind of caters to me. This person says this and that about themselves, when in reality, they're just batshit insane. They don't have a degree. They don't have any type of knowledge. They don't have anything. At one point, this guy was just a Christian. He had nothing else. He was just a Christian that didn't agree with this, and so then he built his own religion, okay? And a lot of people died at the end. So be aware. Now, for example, the reason I talk about not working with demons is that a lot of people don't understand that there are so many other things within demonology. You can read just the basic text about each demon. So it's kind of like hitting key points. However, you don't understand who the Grand Duke of Hell is or the Arch whatever of Hell. There are all these other fine details that are not written within major books or main books that are at Barnes & Noble's. There are books that are that big on each demon, okay? How to summon it, the proper rites, the rituals, initiations. So you're not going to be able to summon just a grand demon because you got this little sigil that you found online and you have some candles. That's opening yourself up to a channel. If anyone says, hey, I can show you how to do that, and they don't have, the 10 gold candlesticks and frankincense and myrrh and all these things that appease the demon, they're fucking wrong. Okay? Now, Do entities work with you? Yeah, sure. Can some entities want to work with you? Can they speak through you? Can they give you certain gifts? Can they help you along your spiritual path? Yes, but once again, it doesn't make you a high priest or a high priestess or a priest or whatever to that religion or to anything. It just means that you have a powerful entity that wants to work with you. That's it. So be aware of the signs of abuse and don't allow that to follow you into the next one, Do your own research. Don't follow lunatics. Be safe. And I think that's about it. I think I covered pretty much everything. So anyway, once again, I'm not trying to get you involved in a cult. You could be a Christian and watch my channel. I'm glad for you. You could be a Wiccan and watch my channel. Glad for you. You could be whatever. You could be on your own spiritual path. You can be a witch. You can be whatever. You don't even have to practice like physical witchcraft. You can just practice, spiritual meditation and call yourself a witch. Okay, that's fine. Sure. But if you've never been initiated into certain things, you can say, I follow Wicca, or I follow this, I follow that. But if you haven't been, think about like a church, how much you have to do in order to be involved in that church. You have to take communion. You have to be there like every Sunday. You have to go on every single event. You have to do all these different things. Okay, it's the same thing. If you're not doing that, then okay. However, once again, it doesn't make you a bad person. Like, there are Christians who don't go to church because they don't agree with it or they have their own spiritual thing, that's fine. But as long as they're not saying, hey, I'm a pastor, okay, sure. Anyway, I think I'm just kind of going over the same thing now. So, hope you enjoyed this. I hope it kind of cleared things up, and I'll talk to you later.